What happened to all the 14-inch tires? About 5 years ago, give or take a year maybe, but about 5 years ago, we used to have what I would consider to be the perfect trilogy of 14-inch tires available for Classic Mercedes. On the lowest end of the spectrum, you had the Hankook Kinergy or Optimo, which were really decent tires, good bang for the buck, good reliability, good tread feel, very few vibrations. In the middle, you had the Michelin Defender and eventually the Michelin Defender T&H, which was a higher speed rated 195 14 tire. And then at the very top of the pecking order, you had the Vredestein Sprint Classic, which you could get in all kinds of 14-inch graduations from a 205 75 14 all the way down to a 185 65 14, which, you probably wouldn't want to use on anything but a W114. But the point was that you could get all these great tire sizes. And not only that, the manufacturing pedigree of all these tires was what I would consider exceptional. The Michelins were made in different plants around the world. They had either European stock or North American stock. The Hankooks are made in North America, and the Vredesteins are made in Germany. So fast forward 5 years later, now we have a major tire supply problem with 14-inch tires. Of all these tires, the only ones that are still readily available are the Hankooks, and you can't get them in a white wall anymore. If you want a white wall, you have to call a company called Diamondback, and they will impregnate a white wall into the tire for you for a few $100s. So, per tire. Kind of expensive. On the other hand, if you want a vintage-looking tire, you can't go just buy a Vredestein Sprint Classic anymore. You have to contact Longstone Tire in the UK. Or if you want to overpay for a Firestone Phoenix replica, which is one of the worst tires ever made, you could buy from Coker here in the United States, which I'm not saying Coker's bad or anything, but they reproduce tires with the permission of the original manufacturer, so you really don't know what you're getting or where it's made, because that stuff sure ain't made, on this side of the Mississippi, boys. A lot of the time those tires come from third-party suppliers, and I haven't heard of anybody having like a horribly negative experience with them, but they're also not tires that you go out and put 60 or 70,000 miles on either. And I've never talked to somebody who put 70,000 miles in a set of tires from Coker. Now, the other thing too is that Coker is extremely expensive. It's actually cheaper for us to buy if we want something like a Michelin XWX for about the same price. We could buy a real Michelin XWX made by Michelin, sold to a company in the UK called Longstone Tire that will ship them to us. And at the end of the day, I think we're still below the price of a Coker tire per unit, even with all the shipping expenses added on. So that makes things a little bit challenging too. Now, for a while, Vredestein was supplying a tire called the Quatrac 5. And the Quatrac 5, although it's kind of a misleading name, it was supplied in 14-inch and greater variants. While these tires worked okay on big cars, when you get to a short wheelbase car like a 107 or a 114, the tires are so meaty and thick and oversized that they change the center of gravity of the car and make it handle weird. And I would describe the feeling with the Quatrac 5s as the car wanting to slide off the road under certain driving conditions, because there was just something odd about those tires. I'm not a tire engineer, but I know when a tire is not a great tire or a safe tire. The Quatrac 5, actually, full disclosure, I have some of my 300D because I was willing to give them a try. And on that car, they're fine, but I do notice they pull more. And that's another issue we have to discuss, that some of these lower budget tires, even when you get the car perfectly aligned, the car still doesn't track straight because there are abnormalities in the manufacture of the tire. And that leads me to my biggest complaint about Vredestein. About a year ago, Vredestein's tire production arm was sold to an Indian company or an Indian conglomerate. And then they started building a lot of their mainstream passenger car tires in India. And sure, we need tires all around the world. I mean, automotive production in India is a lot higher now than it was 30 years ago. The thing is that the quality control on these Indian-made tires is nothing near the German tires, as you would expect. And I doubt there are really any companies in India that have experience producing 60s and 70s era tallish radial tires, you know. So in my estimation, it's almost safer to go with the hand cook, because even if it's a modern tire, it comes from a facility that's been doing it for a long time. Whereas I think there's still a lot of debugging to do with the production facilities in India that Hankook is using. And production has been really inconsistent. So they're switching from one line and not making enough of those to another line and not making enough of those, another line to make not enough of those, and then switching back, and each batch is different. And because they're switching around the production dies so much, you really don't know what you're going to get. I'd be surprised if we get a contact in here from Friedestein now asking us, you know, what's going on with our video, but probably not, because they don't answer emails anymore, even though they used to. They used to be very good about it. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the generic 14-inch tires. So keep in mind when you're shopping for 14-inch tires that a lot of the production of 14-inch tires is allocated towards trailer tires and low-speed, fuddy-duddy, winga-dinga 50s passenger car tires for cars like Volkswagens that don't go more than 60 miles an hour. In other words, they're really only rated for about 90 miles an hour, and you don't want to take them up there that long either. And you get these weird names like Road King or Nexian or Fortuna or just tire names where you're like, who came up with these, you know? And some of them are actually good tires, like Laufin, for example, is made in Hungary. I hear Laufins are good. I'm waiting to get my hands in a set and see how they are, because I think they make a 14-inch tire. But then when you get things like Road King or Mile Maker or whatever, the thing about these tires is they don't come from a manufacturer that's designed and developed them. Actually, where they come from is a generic manufacturer, usually in China, but they could be in Korea or Taiwan or Vietnam or, you know, somewhere else. And they will stick your name and make tread alterations on the tire you want. Then these tire companies, which are really nothing more than an office that drop ships tires from China to a tire rack warehouse, will send these crappy generic tires in, and then, you know, you hope that when it's raining and you've got 2 inches of water on the road that these things don't hydroplane, because they've never actually been tested. Now in Germany, the situation's a little bit different because they have TÜV approvals. And remember, the DOT sets standards here, but they don't road test every single tire, whereas the TÜV is a lot more meticulous. If a tire has a TÜV approval, generally it's safer. So there's that. But remember, all those generic 14-inch tires are just, you know, some of them are just like gummy bears. You put some in one manufacturer's package and some in another, and then they put a thing on there that says best flavor or something like that, but you're eating the same gummy bear, whether it's $1 or $1.25. Same crappy gummy bear.
So you're right now, would you mind plugging?
You know, I use the gummy bear now. Oh yeah, they're kind of rubbery.
By the way,
if you guys think that I look good with my long hair and my really point is I haven't had time to trim, it's because I really have to vet 14-inch tires. You can't just
Pierre
go for
Hedary
what's
shirt
cheapest.
will
You also don't want to put trailer
like a better,
tires
smarter
in your car.
person.
That's
So
a
if you
bad idea, because
want one,
you can order one through.
Where is
If
it?
you
The
enjoy
link-
this
there's-
video,
yeah,
there's a
please
like,
like
share, and
and
subscribe.
description. So-
Tap the bell for notifications.
Yeah, we've got shirts.
If you have any comments about your experience with 14-inch tires, especially really bad generic 14-inch tires, please share them with our audience so that they know what not to buy or what has given you decent service. And we'll see you guys in the next video.